All right, this video is going to go over how to make a summary page in two different ways. So the first way that we're going to look at making a summary page is one that says, like, did you turn your work in? And it gives you like a check mark if you did or an X if you didn't. And it won't tell the student if it's right or wrong. It's just like, did you turn it in? Was there something there? All right. And then the next page, or the next way to do a summary page, which I think a lot of people do it this way, which I don't know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me sometimes, but if your work is correct. I feel like it makes more sense to tell a student if their work is correct, if you're going to give that feedback, to give it on the slide where the work was, because then it's immediate feedback, right? So like if I go through all sorts of work for a problem, and then that topic probably continues and builds upon itself, then if I'm making an error, I probably want to know about it earlier in the process than like doing the entire activity wrong and then going to the end and seeing a summary page. So think about how you're going to be using the summary page and why you're going to be using the summary page, I guess, if you're going to do it this way. So I've got 4 questions in here that I pre-built. They are coded for the teacher dashboard to give correct feedback for correct or incorrect. And they're different types. So this one's multiple choice. This one is a graphing one where they have to give the area, table for a pattern. And this one, the students have to manipulate on the 2 points that are movable on the graph in order to get it correct, or to graph the equation. And then we have our summary screens. So let's do it with this one first. Did you turn your work in? So if a student turned their work in, then we are probably going to know that because of a button. So this right now, this question 1 right now has directions, it has the multiple choice, and it has a button. So we can use this button 1, to allow information to be brought over to the summary screen. So we can say in the summary screen for this piece right here, which would be 1, 2, summary table. So cell content of 1, 2 is going to look different for different things. So we're going to use when button 1 dot, and really it's the press count that we're looking at. If it's been pressed at least once, if it's been turned in at least once, then we're going to say that they turned it in. We're not really looking at correctness. So if it's greater than 0, then we want to say yes, it's been turned in. Otherwise, no. So it's really a yes or no question, which is why I'm not worrying about other conditions. And we want to take a look at that for various cells. So this would be 2, 2, 3, 2, and 4, 2. And the only thing that changes here is the button number. So this is button 2 because it's slide 2, button 3, slide 3, and button 4 for slide 4. So this should be all that we need for that table. One thing that I think is helpful if you're going to have a button that says submit my answer or turn my work in or something like that is letting the student know that like their work was received. So you could put a note in here and in the content of the note say when button Now, because I am going to be copying this, let's use this. So when the button press count is greater than 0, then we can say thank you for submitting your work. Something like, thank you for submitting your work. Please move on to the next question. And if they haven't, then we want to say either nothing, or you could come up with something to say. I think nothing might work best. But because this is a message that I'm probably going to put on multiple screens, then let's just copy it and we can paste it. And then each time that I need to, I can just change this one spot. Truly, in this example, it would only be this one spot that you would need to change. But again, a lot of times that thing will show up multiple times when you get to more code writing. And so it really is a nice time saver. So this would be feedback. It's very little feedback, but it is some feedback. And so I'll do that again here. I'll insert a note. I think I did not put feedback 1. There we go. Not that it's necessary, but this is 2. And slide 3, we'll do a note. And again, I'm just going to paste the same thing down and change the button number. I have designed activities before where I've forgotten to change the number, and when I was testing it out, it was very confusing as to why it was like giving feedback but not when it was supposed to, or like it wasn't giving the right feedback. Like it took a long time to debug, so watch out for that. All right, so we've sort of done 2 things so far. One is set up the table to say, yeah, you turned it in, or no, you haven't. And then we've also given the student just the feedback of like, thanks for pressing the button, essentially. So let's see, I'll get this one correct. I will get this one wrong. This one's 4, 7, 10, 13, 16. That one's going to be correct. And let's get this one correct. -4 up 2/5. That one's hard to see the feedback because it's down here, so maybe moving that feedback somewhere over here. And then hitting next, we can see, did you turn your work in? And it's yeses for everything. So again, it's not telling the student if they're correct or not, it's just, did you turn it in? So I can show you an example of not turning it in. Right now, none of them are turned in, and it says no for everything. And if I say submit on that one, and let's say submit on this one, oops. Now we can see like some yeses, some nos. So again, not telling the student if their answer is correct or not, simply has that button been pressed, you know. All right, so if we want it to come back with correct feedback, then we have to do something a little bit different. So in this example, we're going to go into the CL, again for the table where the correctness is. And in here, we're going to do cell content of 1, 2. And at this stage, we probably want to say, like, when it's correct, give this message, otherwise give this message. So how do we know if cell content 1, 2 is correct? We can do it 2 different ways. One way is that is slide 1. So we go back to slide 1. And we say to ourselves, okay, which answer is correct? Okay, it's a multiple choice problem, so we have to reference that and then say is selected and use the proper code to say when choice 2, 13 is correct, then it's correct. Or because we've already done that right here in the multiple choice, we've set up a check, and we said when it's this scenario, mark it correct. So check is what we need. And we need check within MC1. So if we go to our summary slide on page 6 here, and I say when MC1 dot script and dot check, then we can say, I'll just use the check mark for this example. Like, yes, it's correct. Maybe I'll do that. Otherwise, we'll say, try again. And that this same thing could be used for the other slides. However, that was the only one that was a multiple choice. So definitely MC1, that part of it is going to need to be changed, as well as which cell it's going into. So that might take just a little bit more going back and just sort of figuring it out. All right, so I've changed the cell numbers, and now this one's definitely not going to be MC1 because the second slide is not a multiple choice. So let's go back and slide 2. Where is the student putting their answer? It's right here in the input, and that's where the check command is. However, this time, instead of calling it check, I'm calling it answer. So whatever you're deciding to name it, that's what you want to make sure to carry over. We're going to carry over answer from input 2. So in here, this right here is not MC1. This is input 2, script, and then it's underlining check and saying, like, I can't find that for good reason. There was no check there. But there was an answer, and it came up with that on its own because that's the only thing available. So that is what we want to pick. Let's look back at slide 3. Slide 3, our correctness is here in the table because that's where students are entering their answer. And again, I went with check on this one. And so that's coming from table 3. So going back here, on 3, right here, we want to say table 3, and I don't have to change check, it's all set. Number 4 is coming from the graph, in fact. So I have not made a video yet on how to do this piece that I've done here, but I did name it check, and we're just going to go with that for now, but I can show you how to do the whole graph thing in another video. So we're going to check for graph 4. So back here in a summary table, not graph 2, graph 4, and it's got check already in there. So everything should be good to go. And if I go to preview mode right now, they all say try again because I've just opened it up and I haven't tried any of them. Let's do the correct answer here. Submit it. We're going to say, what is this? A 6 by 4, 24. I'm going to get that one correct. And then I'm going to skip this one completely. And this one, let's go with, let's say I put it at -5 by accident. And I submit my answer. So we're both going to look at the first screen, the first summary screen, and the second screen just to see those combinations. So did I submit it? I submitted everything except for the third one, which is why that one's coming up as a no. And then here, I only got the first 2 correct. Remember, this one, number 3, I did not submit, and number 4, I purposely made an error on that to show. So these update as the student does things correctly. Like if I go back to slide 4 and I update it, oh, it's supposed to be at -4 for a y-intercept, and I put -5, fix that, slope goes there, submit. You can see that it updates here in the table.